So whenever I am going for really glowy, dewy foundation or skin-like foundation, I start off with a sheet mask. This one is from Pixie Beauty. Keep it on for about 10 to 20 minutes depending on instructions, and you are left with beautiful skin. Then I like to follow up with my favorite face oil from Indie Lee, the Daily Vitamin Infusion. Blending that in just to show you guys that it takes a bit of time. I don't like to rush this process because I want to make sure that my skin absorbs the oil. Next, I go in with my usual moisturizer from Sunday Riley, the Tidal Enzyme Brightening Cream, and that also helps to keep my skin hydrated and really ready for me to go in with some foundation. So, as you can see, I'm ready to go, and I'm back with my eyebrows done and ready to start eyeshadow. I have on a makeup base from P. Louise Academy, and I'm using the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. It's the new palette that's dropped. It's about $65 from Sephora. I'm going in with the shade Cornelian to start, and then I went in with Jasper on the outer corner and blended that in with a Morphe blending brush. And then I blend in the shades Clove and Glory to give a little bit of dimension and add like slightly more of a pop of color. After eyeshadow, I forgot to film this, but I went in with an Hourglass primer and then my Farsali Skin Tune Blur. And so I'm blending that in. Don't be afraid to like stack multiple primers. I like to go in with Farsali Skin Tune Blur on top of another primer. Priming, I like to set my primer with a translucent setting powder. This one is from Laura Mercier. It's in their darkest shade, and I think it adds a little bit of coverage. Like honestly, I could probably go out if I wanted a light makeup look with just primer and this powder, but I think I like the fact that it adds a little bit of coverage so that I'm not using too much foundation, but also so that it like helps in a sort of helps set the primer. So after primer, I go in with a setting powder from Laura Mercier. And for foundation, my new favorite foundation for like this glowy sort of skin-like finish look is the Too Faced Born This Way foundation. I like to just dab the foundation on in spots and dots so it's not just like concentrated in any one area. And then I go in with a NYX buffing brush. This is my favorite brush to use foundation. I'm probably going to get another one soon. My NYX buffing brush to blend out that foundation. And please do not rush this step. Foundation and like basically your face makeup products, those are parts of your makeup routine that you should spend time on and make sure that you're really blending it in. Up next, I'm going in also with the Too Faced Born This Way concealer. Love it for its coverage. And then after I get through this concealer, I used the Fenty Matchsticks in Espresso, one of my favorite contouring products. And this is also something that I take my time with, both applying and waiting for it to dry down, just so it's like fuller coverage and that I'm not just like swishing wet product everywhere. So my advice to you would be to, between all of these steps, whether it's your primer, your powder after your primer, your foundation, and your highlighting and contouring concealers, my biggest advice would be to not rush the process and to give it like maybe 30 seconds to a minute to let the product dry down before you start blending it in or before you apply the next product. So clearly I'm having a little bit too much fun waiting for the makeup to dry down, but yeah, the point is wait a little bit, which is why this process takes a bit of time and it's not the best thing to do if you're in a rush. Also, what's really crucial to the foundation process is the brushes that you use, and I use quite a few. So to blend out my contour on my forehead, I use a NYX stippling brush. To blend out the contour on my cheeks, I use a NYX contour brush. And then to blend out my highlight, I've kind of switched recently, and instead of using a beauty blender to blend everything, I like to use this Morphe concealer brush because I think it gives me a lot more precision and it picks up less of the product than a beauty blender sometimes does. So I like to blend my highlight also with this Morphe brush, and then in those hard to reach places under my eye, and also just to get like to press the product in a little bit more, that's when I'll go in with my beauty blender.
Start dancing, ho.
And so now, as you can see, I'm going in with my beauty blender to kind of just reinforce the work that I've done with my brush, but to pat in the concealer in those hard to reach areas and make sure that it's like not going to crease essentially.
Start dancing, ho.
So right now I'm going back and patting in that product, but then what's just as important is going back with my other brushes and blending that in. So in areas where the highlight and the contour don't necessarily, or they look like they're harsh lines, go back with your contouring brush or your foundation brush, whatever brush that has other products on it, and just try and sort of blend that in. And so now I'm ready for setting powder. What I've switched up lately with my setting powder routine is I no longer like bake with a lot of product. So what you may not be able to see here, but you should know, is I'm blowing off the product or I'm tapping it into the pan so that I don't have too much, because what I want more than anything is to just dab it in and make sure it sets into the concealer, but it's not just sitting on top of my skin. So I would advise, or like the biggest difference for me with setting powder has been not putting too much product on and just making sure that there's enough there to actually set the concealer. Before I set using a highlighting shade, I also like to go in and set my whole face using a setting powder for the face. The one I choose to use is from Beauty Bakery. So yes, I use a different powder to set my primer and a different powder to set my face. Sometimes I use the Sephora Micro Smooth Powder, just as long as you press the powder into your face so that your makeup can stay in place. And then of course I go back with my Real Techniques brush and I blend, make sure those harsh lines from setting, baking, reverse contouring, whatever, make sure that they're gone. Right now I am bronzing with one of my favorite bronzers at the moment, which is the Fenty Sunstalker Bronzer. This is in the shade, I believe it's whatever the darkest shade is. I love it because it's red. Now I am using the NARS blush in Exhibit A, one of my favorite blushes. I like to do a soft smile so that I know where to put the blush, and that would be like on my cheekbones. I'm setting with the Urban Decay D-Slick. And now I'm going in with a liquid highlight from Glossier. It is the Glossier, it's like a concentrated highlight, and I like to use liquid highlights when I'm going for a glow because I feel like powdered ones just seem too obvious and don't blend in with the skin. So I love to blend in liquid highlighters. And after that, I throw on some lip gloss, my favorite lip gloss from Buxom Cosmetics, and that is the final look. So be sure to like, comment, subscribe, check out my blog, and see you next time. Bye!